Was passiert, wenn man völlig fremde Menschen auf der Straße zusammenbringt und sie dazu bringt, miteinander zu reden?
Wir haben noch eine einzige Frage an jeden hier. Was brauchst du?
Ja, also vielleicht ist das ja hier mal der richtige Ort, um das so zu versuchen.
Ich brauche jemand, der mich hilft, mein Zeugnis zu übersetzen in Deutsch. Wir haben mit ein paar Kommilitonen ein Computerspiel programmiert, aber wir haben einfach keine Designer gefunden.
Was mir eigentlich wirklich fehlt, ist gerade ein Plan, was ich wirklich in meinem Leben machen möchte.
Ich habe halt die ganzen letzten 8 Wochen so viel gearbeitet, dass ich fast gar nicht zum Starten gekommen bin. Ich muss immer abrufbar sein und merke, dass mein Körper langsam aufgibt sozusagen.
Ich habe einen super Job, es läuft richtig gut, aber alle meine Freundinnen heiraten gerade und die kriegen alle Kinder und ich merke, dass ich mich gerade echt frage, ob ich einfach was ganz Wichtiges verpasst habe. Also vielleicht gibt es ja andere Frauen hier, denen es genauso geht, die auch keine Kinder haben oder und trotzdem vielleicht glücklich sind. Oder ich wünsche mir Frauen, mit denen ich mich mal drüber austauschen kann, ob es denen genauso geht.
Das, was ich gerade wirklich brauche, ist einfach nur eine Gehaltserhöhung. Also, vielleicht kann mir da irgendjemand hier helfen oder kennt jemanden, der jemanden kennt, der
Ja, also wenn du es nicht zum Morgen brauchst,
Kannst du überlegen, ob du vielleicht zur Architektur switcht.
Mir hat Meditation sehr geholfen.
Wir suchen immer noch Leute für die Hotelfachmann-Ausbildung. Ich bin eher so der kreative Typ.
Ich bin dafür. Moin. Gib mir mal deine Nummer.
Also wir suchen immer.
Meine Mutter ist Deutschlehrerin, die kann dir bestimmt helfen.
Das Ergebnis? 3 Jobangebote, neue Kontakte, ehrlicher Austausch und eine ganz besondere Erkenntnis. Egal, was du brauchst, es gibt immer jemanden, der dich unterstützen kann. LinkedIn. Gemeinsam ist das neue Ich. Was brauchst du?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to LinkedIn for CEOs and business owners. My name's Sue Elson, and I'm going to try and pack in an awful lot of information in the next 30 minutes, give you some demonstrations, remind you that this is being recorded, but whilst I'm on screen share, your face will not be shown on the recording. And if you prefer to leave your camera off, that's perfectly fine. And your names will also not show on the recording. So just wanted to give you that quick heads up. So thank you for joining me. My pleasure to bring this information to you today. So that was the video on the LinkedIn experiment. And I think it's a really great introduction into some of the many, many things that LinkedIn can do. But today we're focusing on the top 10 techniques for CEOs and business owners, the top 10 strategies for company pages, and the top 10 ways to manage your LinkedIn activity in 20 minutes a week. Now, I do encourage you to put your questions in the chat, and whilst I'll go through the presentation in 30 minutes, I'll hang around for as long as you like, answering any questions at the end of that 30 minutes. I just want to make sure that we get through the content first. So that's the plan. So these slides, a Word document with a bit more text in it, and the video recording link will be emailed to everybody who has registered. So if you know somebody who would like this information, if you've registered via Eventbrite or LinkedIn, I'll be emailing this to you and you can share it with whoever you like, even if it's another LinkedIn trainer, I really don't mind. We all share information and it's a very collegiate experience amongst us LinkedIn trainers. I'm going to assume that there's a varied level of knowledge and experience in the crowd today. So hopefully there'll be some obvious basics as well as some new insights as well. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on where we are all based. And obviously this event welcomes people of any background, no matter what that is. I'm a refugee from Adelaide, now living in Melbourne. And you can learn a lot more about me at sueelson.com. I'm not going to go into the whole palaver story, it'll take too long. So let's get right into it. First of all, you get a free gift for coming along. You can download my first 4 books at researchgate.net. The benefit I get out of that is I get lots more reads. I've had over 2,000 reads of my books via ResearchGate. If you would like to pay me for my contributions, you can go to 120ways.com. Also, I encourage you to follow me on social media. That's obviously where I share my updates fairly frequently. And obviously my preferred one, as you can see by the stats there, is LinkedIn. And that was one of the first platforms I joined on the 21st of December 2003. And I'd love to get 100 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're that way inclined, just pick at least one of those profiles to follow me on social media. I would really appreciate it. I'll be posting those links again later. Now, for anybody who's either listening live or who has the recording, you are entitled, as a result of listening to this, to a $50 discount. So if you would like 30 minutes with me one-on-one, or 1 up to 3 people, 60 minutes or 2 hours, you can get that $50 saving there. So why even bother with LinkedIn? You're a CEO or a business owner, or maybe you're the executive assistant to one of those people and you need to do something with the boss's LinkedIn profile. So why? Well, there is no doubt all of us are Googled, but particularly CEOs and business owners. Now, you're going to be Googled by staff, peers, media, stalkers, competitors, disgruntled shareholders, disgruntled staff, your neighbours, people at parties. Anyone is going to be Googling you at some point in your life. So LinkedIn is highly optimized for your name. It's one of the best places to start out with an online presence because it's, as I said, really highly optimized for your name, particularly if your name's unique. If it's Mark Smith or something like that, it's a bit harder to be found, but you can just pop your initials in and be recognized that way. Now, the other thing I recommend for CEOs and business owners is for them to have their own name website, yourname.com. Now, the top executives in the world definitely do have these individual websites where they can share their views, facts, opinions, whatever they have about the world in which they exist. And my website went online in 2012, but my first website was back in 2001. So yes, I've had my sueelson.com website for quite a while now. If you're not ready for that, let's fill out LinkedIn. That's a really, really good place to start. There's also more than 12 million people in Australia on LinkedIn. The number of people who are actually using it on a regular basis, particularly since COVID, has increased significantly. And I'm also happy to report LinkedIn was acquired by Microsoft in 2016. In the initial stages, there was a lot of back-end, changing the order, which I got very nervous about. But I can sincerely say in the last 2 years, it has added an enormous number of features. So I'm only going to touch on some very basic ones today. Also, if you write your story on LinkedIn and then somebody else says something terrible about you, well, at least there's some written record online about what you do and how you work and so on. We also need to remember that no job or enterprise is forever. I was working with a client about a week and a half ago, and he said he retired, and 2 years later, he just couldn't stand it and he wanted to get back. Now, we all need a network, and I've worked for outplacement companies as well, and they often find that somebody with a technical expertise can be re-employed somewhere else fairly quickly, but someone in a very senior leadership position may take a lot longer to get a similar level position or even into something completely different. So if you want to wait around after that time and hope for something to come through, go for it. But I definitely recommend it's a good strategy to have your network in place well before you need it. And yeah, that's why you need LinkedIn. So top 10 techniques for CEOs and business owners. Number 1, you need to customize your URL on LinkedIn. Some of you have already done that. Others will have linkedin.com/in/first name/last name -numbers and letters. And that's not going to optimize your name in LinkedIn. So I'll show you how to do these things. I don't recommend a CEO doesn't want to have their phone number be contacted by randoms or their email address visible. I'll show you how to change that. And it is definitely a security risk if you have your date of birth. One of my ex-clients didn't update their LinkedIn profile and left their date of birth on. And then a Big Four consulting firm came in and said, do you realize, you told this person to do that? I said, no, I didn't. I told him to change it, but he didn't change it. So please do not include your date of birth. I'm an ex-banker. It's part of your identity. If you don't need to include it, please do not. You obviously also need to set an example for the rest of the business. So in the links section, obviously you would want to link to the business website or that you're a CEO of or the business owner. And you'd also want your banner on your LinkedIn profile to be representing the company brand. So obviously, if you'd like to ask your employees to do that, you need to demonstrate that practice in the first instance. You also need to decide who can see your connections. So for anyone in sales or a senior leadership position, I do not recommend that they have their connections visible to other people. You also need to keep an eye on your statistics. So if you've still got 60 connections because you haven't touched LinkedIn for 3 years, that doesn't give you a good brand as somebody who's digitally competent. So you could be digitally literate in that you've got a LinkedIn profile, but you're not going to be digitally competent unless you can show how you know how to use it. So definitely keep an eye on your stats and make sure they're increasing. From now on, I recommend that you connect with every single person that you meet. Now, this is very easy to do if you have the LinkedIn app on your phone, and this applies to whether you're going to be meeting in person or online. So I'll stop my screen share and show you how this can be done. So here I have my mobile phone. I can open my LinkedIn app, and in the very top search box, there are 4 little dots next to that little chat bubble there. You can see the 4 little dots in the search box. And something that we've all become very familiar with here in Australia is a QR code. So I can just show that QR code to the other person I'm meeting, and on a virtual call, I can just do this, hold it up to the screen, and then the person can connect with me. Now, when I appear on their phone, there will be a big blue follow button because I am a creator on LinkedIn. I'll just pop it up again if you want to experiment with this. So you don't choose follow, you click the 3 dots or the more button and you choose personalize invite. And what that means is you can say, nice to meet you at the XYZ event today, and then you can send off your connection request. That way the person remembers how on earth they met you. So that's really important that from now on, you actually remember to connect with everybody that you meet, because there is, that's where the value is. It's in your network. It's not just in the job that you have. So I really, really encourage you to do that from now on. Connect with everyone that you meet. Now, the other thing I like to encourage people to do is to be a personal encourager. And this is somebody who engages online. Now, if you're the CEO and you spend an hour a day on LinkedIn, I would ask, well, what on earth are you doing? This is not a good practice. You should be running the enterprise. But if you do go online and one of your employees puts out a post and it's a bit of thought leadership and you like it, how happy will that employee be that you've engaged with their content? Now, obviously, you're not going to stalk all your employees, particularly if you've got hundreds of them, but there might be other leaders and influencers that you might wish to engage with their content. And there is something called an engagement ratio, which I'll talk about again when we get to the company pages, but it's making sure that you're not just sharing your message. I'm the CEO, here's my news, or here's my news. It's actually about you engaging with the other people who are on LinkedIn. So like all social media, the goal of the social media is to get more people on there for longer and not to go anywhere else. So if you're keeping up that conversation online, then the platform is going to reward you. So when you do have something to say and you put out your own content, or you curate something from somewhere else that you found that was really fantastic, then that is going to be a really good sign. And particularly if you are @mentioned, if somebody's made a note to sort of let you know that you're included in this post, then if you can comment on that as soon as possible after publication, that is also going to help your online algorithm reputation. And the final thing is, several years ago, I went to an event where the general manager of Twitter spoke, and she's in Melbourne, and she said that if the CEO of Telstra, a large telecommunications company in Australia, puts out a tweet on their Twitter account, they've actually been able, and it's good news, they've been able to match that to a rise in the stock market price. But if the PR department puts something out on the Telstra Twitter profile, there's not even a blip on the radar. So as the representative of the organisation, what you say is definitely going to be important. So just keep those in mind. So let me briefly show you how to do these things. So first of all, your content, and apologies for anything else that pops up on the screen, because obviously this is on my LinkedIn account and people could be messaging me and who knows what's going to appear here. Okay, so in the settings, first of all, your LinkedIn URL. So from your profile, where your face is on the left-hand side of the screen, over here on the right, you can change your URL. So as I said before, first name dash last name, numbers and letters. So when you click on the pen here, the gold standard is to get it just all your name. Now, if that's not available, you can put a dash between first and last name. And if that's not available, you can pop a number on the end. And if that's not available, you can put, I don't know, your post-nominal. So I've got a Bachelor of Business, so I could put that on there. Or you could put your pre-nominals. So I could say Ms. Sue Elson or Dr. Sue Elson if I had a PhD, and so on. But you really want it to just be your name, not the name of your business, because the name of your business could change. And I realize some of you are wedded to your businesses, but this profile is really about you. So if you can change that, what it does, A, it looks a lot better in your email signature or on your company website if you're linking to it, or on your resume if you're applying for a role, but it shows that digital competency as well. And it optimizes your name in Google search results. So please make sure you do that. Now, the next thing is your other settings in terms of your date of birth and your contact information. Now, if you're the business owner, you might want people to contact you. I'm a business of one and I do want people to contact me. So my phone number is all over the internet, but it only rings because my content helps qualify people. But if you're in a leadership position, this is not the case. So here in settings and privacy, what you can do is you can decide what sort of information is visible. And you can decide who can see or download your email address. So you might say, I don't want anybody contacting me unless they message me on LinkedIn. And if that's the case, you would say only visible to me. So that stops people emailing you via LinkedIn. Now, the next thing is, do you want your contact details to be shown? And that is from the home page where your profile is, and it's the contact info section. We've got to rely on the speed of the internet to get us there. So we'll just keep going until it brings us there. So here's the contact info. So in this section, you can include your contact details. So you can see here, I have added my phone number. Now, if you're the CEO and there's a landline, you could obviously put the landline of the office, so any calls would have to go through the normal channels, but I would not recommend you put your mobile number on here unless you really want to be contacted. And again, if I had chosen nobody on LinkedIn, my email address would not show there. And further down on this screen, oh no, it's not on that one. But where your date of birth is, just please do not enter it, like it's just not worth doing. And the other thing is in terms of who can see your connections. So I'll show you where that is as well. There's lots of settings that you can choose in here. I'm pretty sure it's under account preferences. No, they keep moving these things around. Okay. Connections. So I have chosen to let anybody who's connected to me see who I am connected to. But if you were the CEO and you had some top clients and you were connected to them and you didn't want somebody to connect with you and then check all your connections, you can just change that button there to a no, okay? And the other things that we mentioned, just make sure I've got through all of the examples there. Oh no, that's the next one. Oh, the banner, yes. So on the top of your personal profile, you can see I've got pictures of my books. And if you're the business owner, you would obviously want to have your company logo on there and invite your employees to put that banner on top of their LinkedIn profiles as well. Now, of course, they're under no obligation to, it's their personal profile. You can see I've got my books there and I've left a little bit of space on the left so you can still see my face there. But also I have to allow for when my face goes into the middle of the screen, not to cut off too much information. People will still be able to see my book, so no big deal. But yeah, think carefully about what you'd like there. And also in that contact info section, please make sure that you link to your website. So obviously, if you're running a business, you want to be promoting a business website in here. If you've got a really amazing profile somewhere else online, you can link to those as well. So they're really good things to mention. Now I'll just check the chat if there's anything. Oh, share the link for my books again. You'll be getting all the slides, Jackie. So it's at 120ways.com or researchgate.net, and just look for Sue Elson and you'll find all my books there. Thanks for that question. Okay, so let's move on to LinkedIn for company pages. So that's our top 10 strategies for company pages. So if you haven't already, obviously you need to create a company page on LinkedIn. So if you follow that link there, linkedin.com/company/setup/new, you can create a company profile. And there is 2,000 characters you can describe your business. There's all these other boxes that you can fill in, and you need to fill in absolutely every one of those details. And the more words, the better, because if somebody's looking for what you do, those keywords need to be in that content, and you need to make that content scan friendly. So people just scrolling through, they see it. If you have some, 10-line paragraph narrative, nobody's going to read that. If you have lots of dot points about all the great things that you do, it's much easier for people to interpret. Now, I teach social media strategy, and I also believe that all of your content should first of all be published on your website before it is published on any social media. But at the moment, there's a big push on video content. You've probably heard that for a number of years, but now it's really, really happening. So I recommend that all videos be added to YouTube first. When you add a video to YouTube, what happens is if you wait a few minutes, YouTube will automatically generate subtitles. What you can then do is you can go in and edit those subtitles, and then you can download those subtitles in a file called SRT, and that's got all those subtitles in it, all the words and all the timestamps. So then what you do is when you put the video on social media, you use the original video and the subtitles file, and then the video is uploaded into the social media. So you're not linking to YouTube then, because that takes people off the social media platform, and I don't like that. But it means that anybody who's watching it on the platform can also automatically see those subtitles. They might be watching it silently, they don't have a microphone on their device. It could be any number of reasons, but it optimizes it. Now, the benefit of that is when you do that on a company page, you end up with this little tab on your company page called videos. So all your videos are lined up there. So if somebody is mad keen video watcher, they can visit your company page and see all your videos in one place without having to go through all the posts that you've made on your company page. So really good technique there to upload videos. It's called natively upload them. The next thing is for all your employees. Now, Spectrum Analysis is a business client of mine, and they won an award last week, which is very exciting, Supplier of the Year for Franchise Council of Australia, and they have 8 employees. Now, the top brands in the world have a minimum of 60% of their staff on LinkedIn. So good news, because I'm, reminding Spectrum what to do. I've made sure all their employees are mentioning Spectrum Analysis on their LinkedIn profile. So you want to make sure as the CEO or the business owner, at least 80% of your staff have actually listed you as their employer, because that means every time somebody looks at their LinkedIn profile, it's branding your business. So you really, well, if you get 100%, fantastic, but let's start with 80%. I also recommend that when they describe their job at your organisation, they put in a little description of what your business does, because a lot of people don't click on the logo. But if you can say established in year X, ABC company does blah, 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 and put the link in the description of the job that they do at your organisation, again, that's really great branding for your business. You should also, when you post on the company page, there's this little choice to notify employees. And this is something called employee advocacy. So if you are in a situation where you do have employees, and they could be contractors who also list your organisation on their LinkedIn profile, but this will send them a notification you've just published content on the company page and encourage them to engage with that content. So I don't do it on every post for spectrum analysis, but important things I definitely would. So that's another option as well. Also, on the company pages, every post that you make, there's 3 dots on the top right-hand side of the post, and you can copy a link to the post. Now, one of my clients is a school, and they were promoting a school reunion. And it turns out they put up a picture, let's say the class of 2004, and it turns out that one of the students from the school saw the post online and realised that one of the people in that photograph had been convicted for, inappropriate offences, and insisted that that image be removed immediately. Now, as an organisation, if you try and scroll through a news feed and find content that you've previously published, it can be extremely difficult. So what you need to do for every piece of content that's published online is you need to create a little spreadsheet with the date, the title of what it's about, school reunion from 2004, the content, whatever you wrote in it, and a link to that post. So then what happens is, if for any reason you want to reuse that content, you want to re-find it, what did we do for the last reunion? You can just click on that link from the spreadsheet, see what was done previously, and rinse and repeat. So it's not only a risk mitigation strategy, it's an audit process. You can then see how often you're posting by the number of links you've done between date 1 and date 2. It does a lot of things all in one go. So please keep a record of all your posts. And believe it or not, you can now write articles on company pages. So articles were something that was only previously published under your own name. But now, as an enterprise, you can publish articles, and these can be found in Google search results as well. So if you are going to be writing these posts and articles, ultimately, what that's going to do is increase the size of your digital footprint on the internet. Woohoo! And that is then part of your digital asset value. So if you were going to sell the business, or as part of a merger and acquisition or something like that, you could say we've got thousands of followers, we've got 64 articles with over 26,000 views, whatever it is. And then that is a way of proving that you're likely to keep generating business because of the size of that digital footprint. So again, really great reasons for keeping this data. And it's not something you can sort of recreate. So if you haven't done it up until now, don't worry, just suggest, okay, from now on, we will start keeping a list of these links, or maybe from the 1st of January next year. Now, the other thing as the CEO or business owner you can do is you can invite people you're connected to follow the company page, because obviously company page content is not as popular as content that you might put out. But if I'm doing some due diligence and thinking about doing business with your company, I am going to look at your company page. And if you have 24 followers, I'm going to say, is this really a legitimate business? Now, the goal is to get at least 300 followers. When you get 300 followers on your company page, what you will find is that you then have more options of sharing your content to specific audiences. So that can be really, really helpful as well. And yeah, so periodically you get 100 credits. You can invite people to follow your company page. Then it runs out. If people accept, you get more credits. But yeah, every so often, invite a few people to follow the company page. The next thing is remember you are the figurehead of the enterprise. So as I said with that Twitter example, if you put out content, it's going to be more popular than if somebody else does. But again, I encourage your enterprise to put the content on your website first, because once it goes out on social media, it no longer belongs to you. One of my students last week told me that their Facebook page was taken over and they lost all the posts that they had only put on Facebook and not published anywhere else. So they lost all that content that they had produced. Whereas if they had put that content on their website first and then shared it on social media, they increase the size of the digital asset, they've got a record of everything they've done, and they could recreate their Facebook page at any time they like. Now, this is obviously a LinkedIn event, and these are a new feature of LinkedIn. They're an awesome way to reconnect with your clients. Now, one of my clients did a LinkedIn event at the beginning, about March. Is it this year or last year? I think it was last year. and generated $60,000 worth of business from one LinkedIn event. So people like to see you in action. And if you've got news that you can share and it's really useful and it gives people a chance to have an experience of your enterprise, it's fantastic. And it also means that the people you're connected to are reminded that you exist. Now, if I register for a LinkedIn event and it's your event, everybody who looks at my LinkedIn profile will see that I'm going to your event. So again, it's great free PR. So if you can do it at least a month before the start date, that is fantastic. And then on your company page on LinkedIn, it will actually show all the upcoming events and all the previous events. So what I do for my previous events is I put a post in the event, say, here's all the recordings. And so anybody who checks out those past events can even see my recordings from the previous ones. So that works really well as well. Now, you also need to, as I said before, increase the level of engagement that's online. And if people are scrolling through the newsfeed and they happen to see your company page content, you want them to stay on it for a long time. Now, this particular post was triggered off by a story from one of my students, and they were trying to do business with China. This Chinese company said, we can't do business with you until you update your website. And they said, what's wrong with our website? And they said, well, it's got black and white photographs on it. And they said, well, what's wrong with that? Well, in China, black and white photographs are only used on gravestones. So I thought this is a great question to answer for people. Should you have a black and white photo on LinkedIn or should it be color? So as you can see, I put up 2 images of myself from my 2016 photograph of, because this post was actually back in 2019, but a black and white picture of me and a color picture of me. So it's like a before and after. Now what happens is so many people saw 2 images that were kind of similar and they stopped scrolling. So that increased the dwell time. So then the algorithm decided this must be really important content because everybody's hanging around here for a long time. So therefore we'll keep sharing it. So I got 32,000 views of that post. Now there's no link to anywhere else. I provided information in the post and it's just a sort of psychological tactic, I guess, to make sure that people look at the content for longer. So if you have faces in any of your content, people are much more likely to look at it for longer. And if you also perhaps have text on that image, that they will often read that text as well. So yeah, now the other thing that's working really, really well at the moment is not just an image, but if you have a PowerPoint presentation that you save as a PDF, and it can be in landscape or portrait mode, if you upload that as part of your post on LinkedIn, it becomes a little, flick book that people can flick through. And that again encourages them to stay longer than 1 second, which would have been what it reads. Now, I really like those little, arrows, click, 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 because I can't be bothered watching a video for, 2 minutes. So if I can go click, 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 I can get through those slides in 10 seconds and have read everything. I'm really happy with that. So I really like adding those PDFs to my content. So how can you manage your LinkedIn activity in 20 minutes per week? Because let's face it, if you're the CEO or business owner, you do not have hours and hours and hours to spend on LinkedIn. So I recommend that, and I realise I've just gone over the half hour, you log on and engage with the newsfeed for 8 minutes. You look at your notifications for 2 minutes. You look at your network connection requests and decide yay or nay whether you want to connect to those people. Look at the event invitations if you want to go to those. Bookmark important company pages. So maybe you've got a strategic alliance with another company and it would be very wise for you to engage with their content. So you might have a few of those bookmarked or individuals and just check out what they've been doing and engage with that content. You might say, look, I've got to tidy up something on my own profile. Put something in the news feed that you've either found from somewhere else or you created yourself, and then maybe look at your stats and make sure that things are going well and make a plan for next week. And before you spend any money on social media, please read that link. Bonus tips, I recommend every month that you check your profile and make sure everything's there, add any new connections, perhaps save a copy of your profile to PDF, which you can do from the More button. Get a copy of your data and save it every 6 months. Look at all your settings at the back end, just in case something's changed. Double check any of your LinkedIn strategies and decide whether those need updating. and perhaps consider some additional professional development activity to learn more about, how you can use the platform for yourself, but only every 6 months. And if you're thinking about revisiting your website, please read that article, because lots of people throw out the old one and lose a lot of Google rankings. So I like to remind people of that as well. So where to from here? Well, on Thursday, the 11th of November, I'm running a longer webinar for LinkedIn for early career professionals. So this is people who might have finished school, done their degree, and now they're out working. And so that's running for the Geelong College. I'm doing that event, but they're welcoming anyone. Another client of mine does media training. And so if you are worried that you might be in front of a whole bunch of media cameras for some reason as a CEO or business owner, then that's really great tips for you to nail that crisis media conference. And also my next event in this series is LinkedIn for board directors and senior leaders on Wednesday, the 8th of December. Again, there's the link for the books on researchgate.net. And if you'd like to pay for them at 120ways.com. And remember to follow me on social media. I really appreciate that. And don't forget, you can get $50 off by just contacting me and saying Apple too, Apple for the teacher. That's why I use that expression, not because I'm an Apple fan. And also, if you got value out of this, I would really appreciate it if you said thank you. And there's various ways you can do that. If you read a free book, you can write a Goodreads review, you can write a Google review, you can do an online review on my website, you can write a LinkedIn recommendation, or you can do a skills endorsement on LinkedIn. It's always nice to say thank you. That's what my mother has told me. So I'm going to go straight into questions. Thank you. Missed those links. Thanks for very useful, great advice as always. So what I will do is I will stop sharing my screen and look for any unmuted microphones and see if anybody would like to ask me any questions. And if you don't feel comfortable asking me a question online here now, you're most welcome to email me as well. So I think Jackie has gone unmute. Would you like to fire away, Jackie?
Yeah, hi there, Sue. Thanks very much for that.
You're welcome.
I could not keep up with the links for your books, so this will be just. Can you put up the slide that is your book links?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll bring that back up again. Share screen. It's just on researchgate.net. So if you go to researchgate.net and look for my name, you will actually see it on that. Let's close that one. In fact, what I'll do is I'll copy the link from the internet and pop it in the chat. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? That way you can just click on it. Chat. And did you have any other questions, Jackie? What was most useful?
Yes, I think that you've got lots of great methods. What I suppose was really interesting was about being able to attach the YouTube videos to the company page, but I could not follow what you were saying about how to do that. So, only because it was a little bit complicated. So, is there any learning on any opportunities to actually learn how to do what you just said?
Yeah, I'll show you right now. So let's assume you've got a video file, right? And you put it onto YouTube. Do you know how to put videos onto YouTube?
Yes. Yep.
Great. Okay, so you've already got the video file. When it's on YouTube, you will then have the opportunity to download the subtitles. So have you ever done that before?
No.
Right, okay. So I'll go into YouTube and show you how to do this. Again, we've just got to wait for the internet to be as quick as it can. I am connected by cable, not by Wi-Fi, but it still takes a little while to come through. So my channel. So here, that video is too long. I need to do a short video. Okay, this video is 1 minute and 39 seconds, okay? So here's my video, and I'll just press the pause button so it doesn't rattle off, and I can choose edit my video.
Where did you,
yeah, sorry, go on.
Where did you click to edit your video?
Just underneath the screen, because I'm already signed into YouTube.
Oh, okay.
There was just a big blue button there saying edit video, right? Now, over here on the left is the subtitles. Now, because this was a short video, I have already gone through and edited my subtitles, right? But here they are. And if I wanted to edit them again, I could go in here and I could edit them. So see, I've put capital S, capital E, capital M, capital A, you know, I go through and check all this. If you choose edit as text, you can also copy all that and put it in the description of the video, which I also do because I like to have a transcript of the text in the description of the YouTube video. But what we need to do is once all that's okay and we're happy, we choose publish. Don't want to make any note of my changes. But then over here on the 3 dots, there's a little options and it says download, right? So we're in the subtitles area, we've clicked on the 3 dots, we choose download, and there it says SRT, right? That's the file type that has the captions. So we just download that file to our device. So I'll just put it on the desktop for now, and you can see it's called Captions 2 there. So now what would happen is if I go into LinkedIn and I upload that video as a, like, you know, just as a file. So I'll go to my company page. Come back, LinkedIn. Okay. So I'll go to my company page, which is from the Me menu. And I don't think I've got a video file on this computer, so I can't fully demonstrate it, but you'll get the idea. So here it says video, right, for my post. So I find the video file. Well, that one's 40 megabytes. We'll just put that one there for now. See if it will open.
That's okay. I see what you're doing.
And then when that pops up on my screen, I can scroll down and it'll say, would you like to add a captions file? And then I put that captions file in, and then, you know, I can go on with the rest of my posts from there.
Oh, lovely.
Sense? Yeah, easy with that.
Fantastic.
Well, welcome. Okay.
And so, with your special offer, you've got a personal appointment, but what are the services that you provide to help people with their social media?
Really wherever you're at. So if you need help with just filling in your profile, you need a social media audit, there's somebody else on the call, Bruce, I've done that for. And yeah, just wherever you're at. And so if you're trying to find a new job, helping you write whatever it is you need on your LinkedIn profile, if you're a business, it's really whatever you like. If you go to my SueElson.com website and look at the services page, that gives you an example of some of the other things that I've done for people.
Lovely, thank you.
Yes, Bruce has got his hand up. Far away, Bruce.
I do have a question, but I'll give you a plug first. Sue's been unsolicited. Sue's been consulting to us for a couple of months, and she's really lifted us up to another level. She reviewed what we were doing and then gave us feedback and training based on that. So I highly recommend her personal services. I do have a question though, and hopefully it's relevant to everybody. We post quite a lot on LinkedIn. I post a lot. We post on our company pages, and like all CEOs, I'm incredibly busy. So other people, staff, post onto my profile, and I have this dilemma. I don't know if there's an answer to it, where obviously it gets the volume up of posting.
Yes.
So we get more brand awareness, but at the same time, some of the posts I get a bit concerned. They're not really in my authentic voice. And sometimes I edit them, sometimes I don't. So there's a trade-off there, isn't there?
There is. Now, technically speaking, nobody else is supposed to log into your LinkedIn account and post on your behalf. Right. And if that person was, let's say, a virtual assistant in a foreign country, LinkedIn would detect that, and there is the potential that they would delete your account without warning, because they're saying you should not have somebody else operating your account. So technically speaking, any of those posts should only go on the company page. Now, the benefit is you can have as many admins as you like on the company page. And if there's a style guide that you recommend to these people who produce content, you can give them carte blanche if it meets those guidelines that they publish it on the company page. Now, your other alternative is, we know how busy you are. What you can do is you can use a social media management tool. And what somebody could do is they could prepare all of those posts ready to go out at, staggered times in the social media management tool. And what you could do is you could review them all and then approve them first. And then at the set time, they would just automatically go out with the social media management tool. Now, we all know there's a trade-off with every opportunity. And obviously the platforms prefer it. If Bruce woke up and decided today was his post and he put it online himself, they obviously all love that better. But if there's a choice between getting a post out once a week on a regular basis, using an approval method that the tool uses, that's way better than Bruce never posting at all. So yeah, but it's definitely much safer than having somebody else log in. Now, I do log in on behalf of Peter Buckingham for Spectrum Analysis, because I'm, within QE, it's like a 5-minute walk to the office, and I'm logging in regularly. So it could easily be seen that this computer, the office computer, and the one at his home are all being used on a regular basis to log into his account. So it could assume that, that's reasonable, but I would never do that on behalf of somebody else. I would use a social media management tool.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. Any other questions? Scott said, thanks so much. Great pace. I've enjoyed reviewing the slides when they come through. Yes. I might also add in a couple of extra links to some company stuff that I mentioned in my last LinkedIn session that's really, really relevant for company profiles. Yeah. Anybody else like to ask a question? Or share what was most helpful? Just unmute. Or raise your hand if you use the reaction button. I feel like I'm at an auction. I've got to say going, going, gone here. No one else? All right. Well, again, thank you for your participation. What I'll do is I'll copy those links into the chat. You can save the chat if you'd like by clicking on the 3 dots, and that will give you a record of all of those links. Also, if you would like to network with anybody else, feel free to copy paste your LinkedIn URL in the chat, and that will let other people connect with you as well. But otherwise, I think I'll wrap up in the next 60 seconds. Thank you, Jenny. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Jackie. And Daniel, thanks for sharing your link. Nice to see you after such a long time. Very helpful, fantastic. That's what I aim to do. And Katja, nice to see you. Yes, I heard a voice there.
Yeah, it has been a long time, yeah, but
terribly long time. Yeah. Are you back in Melbourne?
I am, yeah. I've been back here for a couple of years, and yeah, great to reconnect today. I've really enjoyed the session. Good.
And what's most useful for you? What are you going to implement from today?
I've got this huge to-do list to pass to my marketing team.
Great.
And I love the thing about the video, because we do have some, we're kind of new to video, and that's always been a bit hard for us, but we do have some videos now. So
yes.
I loved what you said there about embedding them, and the little tricks you shared there about making them, optimizing them. Yep, for doing, because yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really good way to do things.
Yeah, look, the other thing is we can thank Donald Trump for getting Twitter and Google connected. So if you put out 3 tweets a week, you will get screen real estate in Google search results. And now if you do 1 video a month on YouTube, you also get video results for your business. So if you Google Sue Elson, you'll see my YouTube videos come up on the first page of search results, because you may or may not know that YouTube is owned by Google. So obviously Google wants to give out YouTube results rather than Vimeo or some other platform. So that's why I recommend put all your videos on YouTube so that you've got lifetime content there. Because if YouTube and Google are talking to one another all the time and they realize that you're always talking about X topic, then you're more likely to appear in X topic results. So yeah, it's really, really worthwhile to add all your video to YouTube.
Appreciate that. Yeah, excellent.
You're welcome. Thanks, Daniel. And I think the other Daniel had his microphone off. Did you have a question there, Daniel?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say thank you for, that YouTube to convert to text is actually really helpful, because sometimes you get a scribe to type everything up, but then now I realize you can actually just record yourself and then put on YouTube and it'll just convert it to text. And then what you said, you just edit all that and it has the timestamps as well. I think that makes it so helpful.
It is, but just remember also that if you've got your phone, you can just go to notes and audio dictate. So if you ever want voice to text, your phone is actually a really good device for doing that. And I did a little experiment between using a computer, voice to text, you know, like a Dragon Dictate or one of those, compared to a phone. And I think because the phone technology is different, it was actually because my client is originally from Italy and she's an academic, and she has just a tiny accent on different words. And I found that the dictation tool did not work as well as the phone. So it seems that the microphone technology on a phone is really tailored for voice. And so I just got her to speak slowly because she's not so great at typing. And that meant that, she could produce loads of content just by using the voice to text on her phone. And then she could email that content to herself and, you know, publish it wherever she wanted. So, that was another really great tool.
That makes sense. But I like how the YouTube has a timestamp. I think the timestamp is actually amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I love the fact that you can edit the text. So if YouTube says you can just delete that bit. and I love putting the transcript in the description of my video as well. That's really, really important to me. Now, you might have heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, and he believes in producing one piece of content and reusing it multiple times. So let's say you're a talker, not a writer, and there's quite a few people who are like that. You can just do YouTube videos, get them all transcribed, then you've got your written blog post, you put it on your website, you've got text, you've got video, you can share it on all the channels, you can natively upload the video and the captions, blah, 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 blah. It all works fantastic. But the other thing you need to remember is Google loves it if your content has a video attached to it as well. So if you just wrote a post, you wouldn't get as good a search results as you would if you had a post with a video. So one of my clients, she went through the top posts on her website and she's added videos to those pages of her website. And again, the traffic on those pages has increased. So that's a really good technique. So if you're not a writer, as I said, some people think, oh, they can't write. But if you can speak, you can actually write. So, but if we start with a video, because some people love video, video is not my favorite form of content. And the reason being, I have this psychological belief that I sound like a school teacher. And I think to myself, if everybody heard my school teacher voice all the time, they would soon get sick of me. So that's why most of my content is text. But that's not to say I don't do events or people don't see me, or, I do have some video content, but it's not a whole lot. The other benefit of having the captions file is that if somebody is visually impaired, auditory. So if they can't hear, they can read the captions, right? But if they have an assistive device to watch the video for them, then that assistive device, say they also have a vision impairment, might be able to increase the size of the captions. Whereas if you had captions embedded in the video file, as images on the video file, that assistive technology can't read those images on there. Now, if you also have captions in the bottom of the screen on your video file, as well as the closed captions, from YouTube, they're all going to go over one another, and that's going to look terrible as well. So I think it's just nice and clean to have the video and then the captions, embedded in.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I find creating video is very time consuming.
It can,
because sometimes you talk and then you have to go, oh, I stuffed up, I have to go do it again, and then I don't know.
Look, I think what's really, really important is to be really clear about what you're going to say in your video before you start filming. Like, it's absolutely critical. And I would say don't go for more than 3 things you're going to say have it on it, you know, I'm going to say this, this and this and go for it, you know, not, hi, hope you're having a fantastic day. I thought today I might give you a little bit of a discussion, you know, based on lots of experience that I've had. I'm thinking, get to the damn point. You've got to get to the point within 3 seconds. If the video is not watched for 3 seconds, you're going to be screwed. So it won't go viral. It'll get less watch time. You know, it won't work for you. So that's why I said today's session is 30 minutes, you know. How long do people have to spend on a webinar at lunchtime, you know, and still eat their lunch?
Yes.
So that's why I wanted to focus on the 30 minutes. If people can stay, that's great, but, you know, no need. So, yeah, just try and really bring it down. And also, I think there's a real trap with content production. Let's say you've had 5 years of experience doing what you do. You kind of know so much stuff, right? In 5 years. You learn a lot of stuff in 5 years. And you think to yourself, nobody will be interested in this, right? Because you've known it for 5 years. But there will be people who are interested in it. So don't underestimate some of that 101 stuff. For example, today I went looking for a video on LinkedIn for CEOs and there's nothing on YouTube. Nothing that I could use. And I spent quite a bit of time looking for one. So I just used up my video I used last time. But I was quite frustrated by that. So yeah, don't underestimate and make sure your titles are what somebody would Google because yeah, the title is really important. The first 40 characters, really, really important.
Yep.
This is turning into a YouTube webinar. All good.
Thanks, Sue.
You're most welcome, Daniel. And Daniel, do you have another question? You've got your microphone unmuted again.
No, I've just enjoyed like saying a few ums and ahs and a bit of input there. That's all.
Yeah, look, it's good. Sorry, Jackie?
Just another question. I've tried downloading the SRT and it's asked me what type of app I want to use to download it.
Are you doing it on a tablet or a phone?
On a desktop. It's like what program do you use to download it? You know how you click on something?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, is there something like a text file there as a list?
Oh, this is one of the things I really hate about computers is you don't, yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there that it's okay, I think, when you've done it once. You've got it as part of your repertoire and it automatically does it, but it's just that first time is always the hardest.
Well, it would be a text file or a notepad file or a, what's the Mac one, text edit file. Yeah, it'd be one of those.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you very much. I think I've definitely learned something today and I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome. That's what I love doing. I love teaching people. So, yeah, it's all good. Your tips and insights are much appreciated. Thank you, Amy. Mandy's got to run. Can we have the recording, please? Yes, everybody who's registered will definitely get the recording.
Thanks so much, Sue.
Thanks, Daniel. See you next time.
Welcome.
Thanks, Sue. See ya.
Thank you, Daniel.
See you, Dan.
Yep. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Any last questions? Okay, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for coming and great to see you all, and feel free to come along to any of the other events. They're all on the SueElson.com website. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.